Welcome to All Pro Football Data. My name is Jim Coburn, and today's episode we're going to be talking about Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC. Very controversial prospect. One of the more controversial prospects I think that's been talked about in a couple of years now. But we're going to be looking at everything from his mobile quarterback score, his passing efficiency score, to kind of see where he profiles as a prospect. With all that stuff out of the way, if you want to know more about the terms that I use in this video, be sure to check out the comments section, the description section, and it'll kind of give you kind of an overview of those types of things. But let's get to the video. So first off, in terms of his mobile quarterback score, this score is derived from rushing market share touchdown per rush percentage, yards per rush, measured against positional peers. The current data set for this statistic is 1,276 quarterbacks since the 1956 NFL draft class. Williams had a good mobile quarterback score. The only area that was not exceptional was his average per rush score. So essentially his yards per touch score wasn't really that great. However, when you look at the starter average, the Pro Bowl average, and the All-Pro average, it kind of hits within the range that you're looking for in terms of that particular metric. And it's also important to mention that the mobile quarterback score is more of a descriptive than a predictive metric from that kind of perspective. So it's going to tell you his style of play. Williams was mobile, but it wasn't the only thing that he had going for him, because the biggest selling point to him has to be his production profile, which we're about to look at right now, which is his quarterback production scores. So the quarterback production score, for those that are new to the channel, just to kind of give a quick overview with it, it looks at the touchdown to interception ratio, completion percentage, strength of schedule, and strength of team. And those scores are measured against a 10-year sample that is then compared to every other performance since the 1956 NFL draft class. So essentially, I'm not taking Dan Marino's completion percentage, his raw completion percentage, and comparing it to Caleb Williams today, because Dan Marino's completion percentage back in the 70s and the 80s was not that great compared to today. But back in the time that he played, it was exceptional. And that's why you have to kind of do a comparison kind of thing, where you're looking at the different eras from that kind of perspective. So based on all this work that I've done, includes 5,359 quarterback performances since the 1956 NFL draft class, this is what the trends are at the position. All-Pro average is 96th percentile for the best quarterback score. Pro Bowls is 87, and in terms of the starter average is about 85. So you typically want a quarterback to hit in that 85 percentile or higher. Williams was in the 97 percentile in terms of this particular metric, and his career quarterback production score, which is the average of all of his scores as a collegiate athlete, was 93.03 out of 100, and the average career score for an All-Pro is 92.45. The threshold is 86 percentile. Pro Bowl average is 75. The Pro Bowl threshold is 40. Starter is 74.64, excuse me, and then the starter threshold is 20.03 out of 100. All those numbers hit exactly where you want them to hit. Out of all the quarterbacks in this draft class, with the exception of J.J. McCarthy, Caleb Williams is probably one of only a handful of quarterbacks in this class that has all-pro potential based on all of his production profiles as a whole. Now, coming to comparisons, because I know everybody wants to know about comparisons. Who does he compare to? Is he like Patrick Mahomes? Is he like this guy? Is he like that guy? Let's look at it, okay? Look at his scores, his mobile quarterback score, BQS score, and CQS score. Caleb Williams tested very similar to Drew Brees, Steve Young, Trevor Lawrence, Mike Phipps, Justin Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes did not quite have the same BQS and CQS as Caleb Williams, but that's neither here nor there. A lot of the reason for this is that Patrick Mahomes played at Texas Tech. He didn't play at USC. He didn't play at Alabama. He didn't play at these kind of big-time colleges, if you will, and that kind of dropped his score a little bit in terms of like the BQS and the CQS. But he still was productive. He still put up great efficiency scores and was a good mobile quarterback. So this is kind of the range of prospects that we're looking at here. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, James, you just showed you just showed like three Hall of Famers there. Um, Justin Herbert, who's a really good NFL quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, of course, is a very promising quarterback as well. And Mike Phipps, that nobody knows about. But seriously, go to the film and look at any sort of data points that you can look at. He was a phenomenal player in the NFL level way back then. I think it was like the 60s or the 70s. But definitely look him up. He was a great quarterback back then. So based on all these comparisons, like, wait a minute, there's no busts here, there's nothing there, and I'm surprised just as much as you are. But again, looking at the data and the players that kind of tested like him, this is what you're looking for. This is kind of what you're looking at in terms of Caleb Williams. Does this mean that he's going to be like Drew Brees and Steve Young and Trevor Lawrence and Mike Phipps and Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes? No, Caleb Williams is going to be Caleb Williams. But similar quarterbacks who put up this type of scores based on his age and the other factors that I also look at in terms of how I kind of got these comparisons, um, this is what you get in terms of that. Now, the outlook for Caleb Williams is this. Caleb Williams' profile is very similar to Drew Brees, Steve Young, Patrick Mahomes based on his MQS, BQS, and CQS. But the biggest question mark to Patrick Mahomes all revolve around his antics and his character off the field. But on the field, he put up the numbers representative of a potential All-Pro and Pro Bowl quarterback long term. This is where scouts really make their money, is what is the character makeup of Caleb Williams. Now, before we get into all the comments that might end up on this episode about different things about how, he was crying and he paints his nails and, just all these different things that he does that, again, to me is a little out there to me. I'm not one to paint my nails, guys. I mean, I don't got that Drake in me like that. But at the same time, I think to old coaches and guys that are going to be telling him what to do, they're going to be like, yeah, this guy's a little out there in terms of some of the stuff he was doing, some of the antics he was doing. Some of the stuff was a little unprofessional. Some of the stuff was a little childish. Some of the stuff was a little bit immature. There were times when you actually looked at him getting interviewed after games. He didn't look like he wanted to be there at all. And this is all I can say about that. We judge Caleb Williams very harshly this year based on the fact that he did not have the year or the season that he was expected to have. Because the fact of the matter is, J.J. McCarthy is smiling ear to ear, and we go, wow, look at this guy. Great character, just phenomenal player. And yet, the last game that he lost, he was talking to the media and then literally got up and left the media room. He left his teammates to talk about the game, and he was there specifically to talk about that. He just got up, he got frustrated, got up, and just left at one point because he was so disgusted. You might say that's competitive, but at the same time, that's a very immature thing to do. It just is. If a quarterback was being talked about a really tough game, as much as he might want to leave, he's not going to just get up and leave the press conference. At the very least, if he did that, everybody would talk about how immature he is as a quarterback. Caleb Williams is still a young man who's still developing that maturity to him, and I think we are looking at how he's acting at these press conferences when he's losing and judging him a little too much based on that compared to other guys who have been winning. So it's always easy to look at a guy who's winning and then look like, okay, this guy is winning, but look how great his confidence is, and look how great he looks being interviewed. He just won the football game. You're going to be excited. You're going to be happy. You're going to be hyped, if you will. Caleb Williams, on the other hand, I don't think he likes losing, guys. I think that's what it really comes down to. I may be wrong. You might say that's a character flaw to hate losing, but I think he's so used to winning that when he finally started to lose, he kind of had to adjust things. He kind of had to humble himself a little bit, and it hurt to humble himself. But that's just my perspective on it. I could be wrong. He could be an immature person who doesn't know how to deal with adversity, and he's weak-minded and he's a loser mentality. I mean, all this different kind of stuff that scouts are going to say about him, and he has all these weird rituals, and he cried on the sideline, which I know everybody wants to talk about over and over. I mean, everybody's going to talk about these types of things. But the bottom line is this: his production score on the football field was amazing. How he is character-wise off the field is another question entirely. But If he does get evaluated for that, and he has the mental toughness of guys like Drew Brees, of guys like Patrick Mahomes, of guys like Steve Young, because those guys have mental toughness. That's one thing you can't fault them for, is their mental toughness. If Caleb Williams actually has that, but we're kind of judging him a little too harshly because of the fact that he's young and he is going through some things, some personal things, then so be it. But bottom line is this: uh, great profile. I definitely would project him again as an All-Pro or Pro Bowl player, but the character concerns, those are big things that off the field may affect this in ways that that you can't really anticipate. He's either gonna go to the NFL and be amazing and have the career that we all expect him to have, or he's going to go to the NFL and just not have the mental toughness to really make it and hack it at that level. We'll see what happens, but those are my 2 cents on him based on everything there. So, with all that stuff out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Go to my Twitter at Geometrics if you want to learn more about the stuff that I do. Also, go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/jcoburn, where you can find oodles and noodles of different data profiles and different data things. If you want to look at past draft classes that I've drafted, just if you're curious, you can go there as well. Analytics guides, you name it, go there. Thank you guys so much. Peace.